All right, I have a conspiracy theory I need to get off my chest. It's a Linux-based conspiracy theory. It's actually been eating at my soul for several months. I just need to get it out there. Maybe someone else will agree with me on this, okay? But it's driving me crazy, okay? It makes me feel like I'm from an alternate universe. In fact, that might actually be what it is. It might be, the Mandela effect. This is supposed to be I remember Nelson Mandela dying in jail. Oh, I don't remember C-3PO has a silver leg. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And therefore you conclude you must be from an alternate universe. That's how I feel. Okay, I feel like I must be from an alternate universe. Here is my conspiracy theory. Okay, these things, app images, snaps, Flatpaks. I was born in a universe where these things did not exist. Okay, allegedly, in this universe, they are supposed to have been around for years, and I don't know, they're very common. In fact, I looked it up, and there are like people doing videos on them years ago, but I had never heard of any of these things until only a couple months ago. And theoretically, me as a famous Linux content creator, I would have run across these eventually at some point, okay, even if I wasn't using them. In this video, I want to talk about these and why I don't use them, okay? Because I think I don't want to live in this universe. Let me put it that way. I think these things are terrible. I've mentioned some of the reasons I don't like them, but I want to make it a little bit more complete, and I'm going to hope that I get it all in this one session. Okay, so here's the deal. What are app images, snaps, and Flatpaks? If you don't know, just turn off the video. You're in for a world of hurt because these things are terrible. They'll make your life miserable. They're nothing but frustration, okay? But what they are supposed to be are universal package managers for Linux. Except for they're exactly the opposite of that, okay? First, let's think about the alleged problem in Linux. The alleged problem, because this is one of these... It's one of these problems that, like, I guess noobs to Linux really fret about, but once you get into it, you just, like, don't care. But the problem, allegedly, is that there are too many... I'm not going to do it in the dumb soy dev voice. I'm just going to do it... I'm going to respect my opponents. There's this problem that there are too many different distributions. There's too much so-called fragmentation. That is, I might use Ubuntu, my friend might use Arch, my other friend might use Gentoo, and that means I'm going to use apt-get as my package manager. He's going to use Pacman, he's going to use Emerge. I might have a friend that uses Fedora. Do people in the world actually exist that use Fedora? I don't know if that's just an internet meme, but I don't even know what Fedora has. They have one of those, is it like Yum? Is that it? Or is that, so who cares? Who cares? But either way, there are different package managers on Linux, okay? That is the alleged problem. That's an issue, okay? Because, if I run Arch and I have an Ubuntu server, those are different things. So it's, I don't know, my brain is going to break. You'll be fine. Now, this alleged solution is to use one of these things. Now, in real life, okay, first off, you should be going to your image folder and getting that one XKCD comic that is like... there are 100 different standards of Linux package managers. Well, okay, we'll make another one that is universal. Oh, well, now there's 101 standards. That's basically how it is, except for it's way, way worse, okay? Because here's what happens. It used to be, if you were just a normie Ubuntu user, you just had to worry about apt-get. That's all you had to do. You might have to figure out how to use PPAs, but that still is really just a part of the apt-get system on Ubuntu. Okay, but now that is not the case. You have to know apt-get. You have to know snap. That comes with Ubuntu by default. And everyone on the internet is going to tell you to use Flatpak or AppImage to install some kind of program. The first thing that people tell you to do, if something is not in the main Ubuntu apt-get repositories, they're going to tell you, I'll just use Flatpak. I'll just use AppImage. So now what happens is, instead of the way it used to be, where at least individual end users had one package manager they had to worry about, now they might have 4. Now they might have way more frustration, and of course that means pulling redundant dependencies. That means, things messing up, things not being compatible, stuff like this. Nothing but frustration. Now, there are alleged benefits to this. All right, I pulled this page up. I pulled this GitHub. Let me explain what this is. This is when I first came onto the Snap and Flatpak Mandela effect universe. This guy opened a GitHub issue And he's like, I installed Snap. Why am I doing it in the voice? Who cares? I installed Snap, blah, blah, blah. Basically, stuff broke. Actually, that's a common theme whenever you're dealing with any of these package managers. Everything's going to break. Everything around them is going to break. None of it is going to be compatible. Everything's just going to be frustration. Okay, but anyway, he's having font problems. And I was like, what is Snap? I don't know what this is. And put yourself in the shoes of someone like me who had literally never heard this term. He says this, I just remember like being flabbergasted when I read this. Like, what is this guy talking about? He says, snaps, as in Linux packages format from Snapcraft. I installed Snappy, and then I went to installed some Snap packages from the Snappy store. And I was just like, what? What is this guy talking about? I've never heard it. I forget what I actually said here. I said something like, oh yeah, it sounds like it comes from like a Dr. Seuss dimension. Yeah, it's like, oh wow, my Snapfuls from, Snapopolis. That's what it sounds like. It's so weird. But anyway, what was I going to say? I was going to say something important. Okay, so the real issue is there's an alleged benefit that these things are supposed to give. And that is, well, multiple alleged benefits, and all of them are bad. Okay, the main thing is they are not real package managers. You are not pulling down programs with their dependencies and installing them on your system in the way that apt-get or pacman or emerge or any other Linux package manager does. That's not how they work. They have their own. They don't use the Unix file system in the typical way. Instead, when you install an app, it pulls that app and all of its dependencies. Okay, they used to not even have dependency management. So if you installed 20 different programs that required some dependency, you would have 20 different forms of that dependency. I think Flatpaks fixed that, so you don't have 1 million gigabytes for all your programs. But Snap, I don't know if Snap's fixed that. But here's the issue. Okay, many issues with this. Let's say, actually, there's a site. I think I pulled it up a second ago. So what is it? Flatkill.org. So there's this little site, and they note this in terms of security updates, but this is actually true of any updates. The issue is, if you have all of these apps that have included in their own containers, they have these different dependencies. Well, what happens if there's a security flaw in one of those dependencies? What happens if you need to update that for something else? Okay, well, that means that if you have Snap and Flatpak and all this kind of stuff installed, they're not going to be able to properly. You have different versions of a obsolete program dependency that might have security flaws. They actually mentioned one here. What is it, with like the calculator application or something like that? You can look at it. The other thing is, a lot of people say, oh, well, there's a benefit to having sandboxed applications because, oh, well, yes, they don't properly interact with anything else on the system. Oh yeah, Snap and Flatpak, like if they even succeed at reading your GTK theme to get your color theme or anything else external to the system, that's a miracle. But even if that's a flaw, that's no big deal because at least it's more secure. But it isn't more secure. This site actually notes it very simply because basically all of these programs have write permissions to be able to write in the user's home directory. If you can do that, you can do anything because you can do something as simple as, oh, I'm going to echo something into the bash RC and say, in the background, download this malicious script and run it. Okay, send all your good stuff to me so I can monitor you or something like that. Okay, have a keylogger, anything you can do. So the idea that these are more secure is just nonsensical. Like I think it's a good example. Like these are marketed, like Flatpak and Snap are marketed to the public as if they're supposed to be easier to use when they're not. You're going to run into like crazy problems when you're dealing with them. Because they don't interact properly with the rest of a Unix-based system. But they're allegedly marketed under the idea that they're made for like security reasons, where I don't think that's true at all. I think it's like I think it's more for it being easier for the developers. Oh, we'll just develop this and tell them all to use that for this platform. We're not going to bother to do anything else. We'll just have it pull the dependencies automatically, and we'll just manually hard code them. That's the other thing. If you have, the other issue is if you have, let's say you require, or different apps might require a slightly different version of a package. So you have like all these different versions of a package. Whereas if you were just using a package manager like Pacman or apt-get in the proper way that you're supposed to be using, you don't have to have that. Everything the maintainers just keep it up to date. That's just how it's supposed to work. I've said before, like one of the reasons that people use these things is not necessarily because they're actually easier to use, or at least at the beginning they seem easier to use. Because Ubuntu, you get this nice little thing that, oh well, here, just click and install that, and that's all. That's all you have to do. It's easy. It's super easy. But it's just you use like an operating system like Ubuntu that's like a slower release. It's not like Arch. On Arch or Artix, right? You have up-to-date programs all the time, and you have this massive. You have the AUR where you can basically download anything. Okay, you can just get Steam if you really want it. You can get all these proprietary junk software that they offer on Snap and Flatpak and all this kind of stuff. All of that stuff you can get on the AUR if you needed it. But I think most of the reason that people gravitate to Snaps and Flatpaks is just because they use like a slow release distribution like Ubuntu, which frankly shouldn't even, I don't really feel like you should be running an operating system like that on your main computer. You can get by with that, but I feel like, it's in the same vein as Debian, where it's a server operating system, and it does very good at doing that sometimes. But I feel like the demands nowadays, there's a reason that people, more like normies, more like introductory Linux users are moving over to stuff like Manjaro or, Artix or something like that, because a lot of these faster updating distributions, you actually get the software that you want in your package managers, and you don't have to worry about doing Snap and Flatpaks. Like, this is where I actually think the impetus for people using these things actually comes from. I just don't feel, and I'll say, as someone who doesn't just, people email me all the time having problems with Snaps and Flatpaks, and all of it is part of a systematic issue. The systematic issue is that these do not properly interface with your Unix-based Linux operating system. There's a standard, like everything is supposed to be, not supposed to be, but ideally works with the Unix philosophy. Programs do one thing and do it well, and importantly, they can interact with other programs. When you sandbox applications, that is why it's a big problem, where if, this dependency didn't work out, or it wasn't packaged correctly, or it caused this kind of font problem, or it doesn't look at my theme correctly. All of it's not just one or two little things. Like, I don't want to nitpick them saying that, the dependency problem, which has been solved, I think, on Flatpak, is a deal breaker for me, because it's part of a bigger issue. The bigger issue is going to be cropping up forever as long as these package systems exist, because the maintainers, the developers, they're going to be playing whack-a-mole with these programs that all have the same source. The same sources, they're not like just normal files on the computer that install like all the other programs on any other computer. Okay, that is the issue. And that is like, if you want a world like that, maybe the world of Mac OS is more to your liking, frankly, because I think they basically do stuff like that, where they have massive applications you can't change. But the reality is, this is, I think someone said here, right here, snaps are proprietary and a Trojan horse for more proprietary software. RMS didn't die for this. And there's a sense in which that's true. Like, there's a lot of, this is sort of becoming a platform. And this isn't necessarily per se like going to come with the technology, but when I look at these things, I see that they are mostly being used as a way to get new users of Linux to continue to use the proprietary software they used on Windows. And it's like, if you're doing that, dude, no shame. Like, if you're just familiar with something you like on Windows and you're using it because you know how to use it, and you don't know how to use Linux stuff, and it looks like there's nothing out there because you don't know the field, I guess. Nothing against that, but what you really want is people moving to a more productive, user-centric, extensible, I guess, computing environment. And I see these programs, I see, Snap and Flatpak as undermining this fundamentally. They're turning Linux into little iOSs. That's sort of how I see it. Anyway, that's about it. I hope that maybe gets my vision of why I find this such an issue. I mean, the weirdest thing to me, in addition to jumping to this Mandela effect universe where these things exist, is that no one else is really questioning them. Like I brought up that site a second ago, which is negative about them, but it's so rare to see anyone questioning these things, and that they're taking, like, they've been organized by these companies and are taking over Linux. Okay, I at least think people should be a little bit more suspicious, and I feel crazy that no one else is. With all the security concerns, with all of the frustration it causes users, all the emails I get about this kind of stuff all the time, like problems caused by these things, I'm just confused more people are not, like, agitating against them. Okay, that's all I have to say. Except for looking at this. So Brody actually has 10,000 subscribers. Congratulations. He has a 10th of my subscribers, but look at this camera. It's 10 times better than mine. I need to update my equipment. That's how what's the resolution here? And that's on 480p. I guess I need to get a better webcam, but we like keeping it minimal. We like keeping it, I don't know, just casual on this channel. So anyway, look at all that lighting. Maybe I should get that. I did turn on a lamp for this video. Okay, that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Watch out for these things.